Welcome back to a brand new season of the Corporate Survivor podcast, the best place for you to learn everything that you need to know about the corporate world. Today, if you're watching live right now or listening live right now, today is the 6th of January and is a very special day for me. And therefore, in today's episode, I want to share with you the story of how I ended up becoming a career coach. So even up to today, having been a career coach for a few years now, I still call myself an accidental career coach. Now, you might find it quite curious or interested or really wondering as to, hey Mei Ping, why do you still consider yourself an accidental career coach? And I thought that you have worked in the corporate world for such a long time. So what motivated you or inspired you to make that career transition from an ex-corporate leader as someone who has achieved leadership positions, career success, climb up the career ladder, worked in global multinational companies, to making that big career change, transitioning into a career coach, career mentor, and career trainer nowadays. So in this episode, it's going to be a little bit of a story time. I'll walk you through a little bit of my career journey and the key event that really allowed me, or rather, pushed me to transition. And I'll also share a little bit about the plans that I have for the future now that I am a career coach and a very committed one at that. So let's dive in. A little bit about myself. I graduated in 2008 and 2009 during the financial crisis, and I started my career in a very small company in an audit firm actually as an auditor, accountant, and doing all sorts in the professional world. So throughout my entire career since 2008, I have always worked in the corporate world. That's really how I was trained, I was educated, and really the path that I thought I had for myself until I retired. So started my career in a very small company, as I said, wasn't paid the best, but during that I learned a lot of very important soft skills and also connected with some people who have truly helped me in my career. Then after that, I moved on to join Ernst & Young, a global accounting firm where I was in the audit assurance department. I was also involved in compliance, financial services, AML, and so forth. So that was where I got a bit of a taster as to what it really takes to transition from a small company to a big company, the culture, the structure, the people, and how to have a different mindset on that. So I also learned a lot in that second role. Then after that, I thought that, hey, I've been in advisory, consulting, assurance for a long time, then why not, make the leap out into joining the commercial world? I mean, still in the corporate world is, a commercial company right now, and I had the amazing opportunity to join Visa. So Visa is one of the world's largest global payments company, and in there, I was in a role that allowed me to travel to more than 20 countries. So with Visa, I've been to the US, I've been to Australia, Japan, many parts of Asia, China, because in that role, what I really enjoyed was the coverage was huge. So my coverage, or rather my team's coverage at that time, was Asia Pacific, Central Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So with that, I got a lot of business travel. I also managed to work with many, many people from different countries, many colleagues. So I learned a lot as well. As you can see up to this point, right, I've always been in the corporate world, just moving different types of companies. Then in 2015, I was on LinkedIn, and I've been on LinkedIn since 2012. So it's been a long time. So in 2015, I was headhunted to join Standard Chartered Bank. So this was a completely new team, due diligence, risk management, compliance, financial crime compliance, and all it's a very niche industry. So I was headhunted to join Standard Chartered Bank because I had a very strong LinkedIn profile. I succeeded to get the job offer, within days from those interviews, and I made the transition. So now I've moved from a commercial company, now joining financial services, joining banking in a very niche industry that I know is extremely valuable. From that, my journey in Standard Chartered, I would say that it's about 4 to 5 years, but it's a very, very rewarding one, very busy one, but very rewarding one because I was promoted every single year. So I started as a senior executive in due diligence. Then within 3 months, I was promoted to a manager. I got a salary increment. I was now handling a bigger portfolio, right? I had team members working for me. I was talking to the business leaders, the compliance leaders, in multiple different countries. And at the peak of my career at Standard Chartered, I was the head of governance and control for the global banks, broker-dealers, and fintech portfolio, covering 43 countries and over $1.5 billion under management. So as you can see, my career in the corporate world, I'd say that, it's going really well, to be honest. Like, I was making six figures. I was in a very senior position. I was the youngest in my team. I was a senior director. I was working with C-suite CEOs, basically, business leaders, who had huge portfolios to run. I had a lot of face time with C-suite as well. And I think everything was going well. It never crossed my mind at any point in time that, hey, I'm just going to leave it all behind and quit. Honestly, never crossed my mind because, like I said, that was never the plan, right? However, in 2019, I, got the news that my mom has, again, fell terminally ill. So basically, it was a cancer relapse. So when she, dropped me that text message, I read it. Very emotional, of course, but, I made a very immediate decision that I was going to quit this job and return home to spend time with her as a caregiver and spend her last days with her because, based on what the doctor said, we knew that it wasn't, she was not going to be alive for a much longer time. And I knew that, if I gave up this time, right, it's not time that I'm going to get back. So this was really the event that I say changed the course of my career because it was then and then I decided that, hey, I'm just going to quit and be a caregiver and I'll think about my own career later because time is more important than money, family is more important than money. And I've always talked about why it's so important to always remember why you are working so hard for yourself, for your family. Why are you working so hard for? Because, the corporate world, you can see it as a job, you can see it as a passion, you can see it as a long-term career, but, at the end of it, why are you working so hard for? And that was something that, I'm really thankful that's not lost. So I've always remembered why I work so hard for. And that's why even when I was working overseas, regardless of which company I was working at, no matter how busy I was, I made sure that at least once a month, I will always travel home from overseas to visit my parents. So that's something that I have been doing for years already. So when I got the news, I thought it was a pretty easy decision for me to make at the time. So then I quit, but I will say that, my bosses at Standard Chartered, specifically Heidi and Richard, I think they have been extremely supportive and they really spoke to me and, gave me options on what I would like to do. And they were also being very open to offer me sabbaticals or, to work part-time or to work from home and, to reduce responsibilities. There are a lot of discussions that were made, but at the end of the day, I decided that if I want to do something, I want to do it 100%. I'm not the kind of person that if you want to do if I were to do something 50-50, I wouldn't feel good about it and I would still push myself because I feel like I want to be responsible to do everything properly and to do everything right and to do everything well. So knowing my own personality type, I think that if I were to take on the part-time work and 50-50 sort of thing, I don't think it would work out. And like I said, overall, it's a very big emotional time for my family, and I just wanted a really clean break. So that was what happened in the middle of 2019, and this is probably something that you don't hear me talk about a lot because, of course, it's a very emotional time. Grief is very difficult, so I don't talk about it a lot, and that's why I understand that even up to today, some people in my community, my subscribers or my followers, they frequently have this question as to, what made me transition. And yeah, that's it. It's the personal reason that I talk about a lot, but basically it's a family reason or rather just choosing your loved one over your job. Maybe that's the best way I can say it. So continuing on from the time that I left. So I left Standard Chartered in 2019, in June 2019, actually. And I returned home to Penang, Malaysia to spend time with my mom. Now, the time when I left the corporate world, I knew that it was the right decision, but there was one part of me that felt like, oh, if I'm leaving everything that I know behind, then what's next? And the second question, I guess the second thing I also thought of was, if I want to still get involved in the corporate world, what are some of the options? So these are just things that were at the back of my mind at that time. I wouldn't say like it's the most important thing, but it was just something at the back of my mind. So as I said, I've been educated, I've been trained, and I've been working in the corporate world for about more than 10 years at that time. So, moving away from something that it's kind of scary, to be honest, even though, I knew that the reason was, I was just going to do it, right? So anyway, back to the second half of 2019, I really took a break, really spent time with my mom. I didn't spend that much time online, social media, or connecting with a lot of my colleagues. Then come 2020, so back to the end of 2019 to the early 2020, to be honest, I didn't really do much online. I didn't really start anything, to be honest, because that 1 year was a very, very important time for me to spend with my mom. And unfortunately, she passed away in July of 2020. And it actually took me quite some time to be able to talk about it. And only in last year, episode 100 of the podcast, where I actually shared a little bit more on what exactly happened. So like I said, grief is something that is emotional. Grief is something that is difficult. And we all say that time heals. And I guess it does make it a little bit more comfortable to share, like I'm doing it in this episode right now. But I think overall, time, space, it's things that will take time because it's emotional. And in fact, this is the reason why I wanted to release this particular episode today. So if you're watching live or listening live to this podcast episode during the release, today is the 6th of January, and today is actually my mom's birthday. If she were to live if she were to live today, then today would have been her 68th birthday. So this is a bit of a tribute, and I think, I felt a little bit more comfortable to, share a little bit more today. So anyway, back to July 2020 was actually the time that my mom passed away. So, from there on, I took it really, really slow. Now, that's basically the key event. Maybe event's not the best word, but the catalyst for my forced career change. And that's why, like I said, up to today, I still call myself an accidental career coach. So back to the career coach part of it. So in 2020, as I said, I was not really doing much online. However, in late 2019, early 2020, I had some friends and ex-colleagues who reached out to me asking me what I've been doing right now, and if I'm not keen to get back to the corporate world with the opportunities that they had for me, then would I be open to help them out with some career advice and some job search advice and just some tips on how to better handle people problems, productivity problems, and some management experience as well. So basically, they wanted to learn from me, and they thought that, okay, if I am not going to go back to the corporate world, that means that maybe I might be open to helping them out a bit, which I thought was an interesting opportunity. And that's why even up to today, I still say that career coaching found me. I didn't found it. There were people who reached out to me, my acquaintances, my connection, my community reached out to me asking for help. And that was when I started doing little bit. So in the middle of 2020, I took on a few clients, and up to the end of 2020, right, when it's been 6 months since my mom had passed on, and I was at that juncture where I asked myself at the end of 2020, am I ready to get back to the corporate world, or do I feel like I want more time with my family and with myself to heal? And at the end of 2020, I made that decision that, okay, I want another 1 year to continue to spend more time with my family, to continue to heal. And maybe in the middle of it, I would get more involved in career coaching, because at that time I was sharing career tips on LinkedIn, and those were pretty well received. I had a lot of people reaching out to me asking for help. So I thought that, okay, this arrangement is something that I think will work for me for the next 12 months. And, at the end of 2021, I would then make that decision on how that's going to look like. So 2021 was the time that I was healing, but at the same time, I didn't want to fall into my own black hole. And therefore, I spent a lot of time experimenting with new content, new tips, new videos. And if you've been following me since 2020, 2021, you would have noticed that during that time, I tried so many different things. And I also took on a lot of new clients as a result of that. So more people discovered me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube, Spotify. More people discovered me, discovered the podcast, discovered the blogs. And gradually, I started working with a lot of clients. Now, 2021 turns out turned out to be a very busy year for me. And, at the end of 2021, I really looked at all the clients that I worked with, the hundreds of clients that I worked with, and really asked myself, like, what are some of the common themes of the problems and the challenges and goals that my private one-on-one clients are experiencing, and how can I make this learning process more efficient? Because at some point, right, I was having so many and frequent one-on-one coaching calls, and I started noticing that I'm giving the same advice, or rather kind of like going through the same review process with many, many clients. And that kind of tells me that, okay, the problems are similar, right? Maybe, they are different people, slightly different situations, but your problems are not unique, right? Your problems may feel unique to you and special to you, but in the scheme of things, right, after working with hundreds of people and also layering my understanding of, me as a manager and a leader in the corporate world, I realized that, okay, right, people out there, everyone that I know, or my clients are facing the same problem. So how can I make the training or the learning or the coaching more efficient? Because, it's not really like the most cost efficient thing and best value to have one-on-one calls all the time, right? So that was when at the end of 2021, I decided that, okay, I'm going to tie in everything together, all the knowledge that I've had from my corporate years, my corporate world experiences, leadership experiences, and also experiences managing staff and climbing the career ladder within a short period of time. So in Standard Chartered, I was promoted every year, and I also got 20 to 30% salary increments every year. So I think, these are really good lessons that I would like to infuse in the course and make it a self-study course, an online course that my clients and students can access every time. And for those of them who are more committed, then they can join the group mentoring calls, or they can then book a private session, which I think honestly is way more cost efficient. And probably if I was a working professional at that time, I would have appreciated something like that. And that was how in early 2022, the Corporate Survivor, which is my current career training and mentoring course, is launched. So 2022 was really all about the Corporate Survivor, because I finally found my interest, my passion of wanting to continue to become a career coach. So when I launched the Corporate Survivor in January of 2022, it was the core curriculum, the 3-step framework on how to get clear in the corporate world, get confident with corporate skills, and get visible personal branding. So these are the 3 steps, what helped me to climb the career ladder, and also infused by a lot of the conversations that I had in private coaching sessions. It also comes with a lifetime access for a job search bonus. So this is a step-by-step from identifying career options, career clarity, then to resume writing. Then the next one is how did I use LinkedIn to attract opportunities. So I've been headhunted on LinkedIn multiple times, on Google, for Google, PayPal, Alipay, Visa, Standard Chartered, multiple different banks as well. Then the next one is on interview skills. So I would say the first iteration at the beginning of 2022 for the Corporate Survivor was the 3-step framework that helped me survive and thrive in the corporate world, the job search bonus to get new opportunities, and of course, strategy calls with me. And then in June 2022, so I had many, many students who enrolled in the program, and there was one thing that I felt could really help the experience a little bit more, and that was, how can I get everyone in the same room at least once a month? And that was where I introduced group mentoring, because I know that, career development can be a bit boring. So at least, you may not feel as motivated to do that. So that's why in July, August 2022, I introduced group mentoring. And that's basically a month-by-month session where students can ask their questions and also learn from fellow corporate professionals in the program on the challenges and how to overcome it. And that's where I also infuse a lot of my stories as well. So that was the middle of 2022, and towards the end of 2022, I had hundreds of students in the program, and that's why I still want to continue with the Corporate Survivor program in the next years, because I've seen the results, and I know that it really helps my students and my clients who are corporate professionals just like you. But on a more personal note, I think it gives me an opportunity to still utilize the insights, the knowledge, and the strategies, the action plans that I have been using in my career. But right now, instead of training team members internally, I am helping my clients on an external basis. So instead of like being with in the company, like having this huge structure and like teaching and working on the career development of the staff that worked with me, I am doing that for clients and students in the program. And I think in a way, it kind of allows me to still be part of the corporate world because, as I said, I've been trained and educated to be in the corporate world, right? I mean, I am a chartered accountant. I started in accounting, audit, internal controls, risk management, financial crime compliance, business management, business portfolio, and ultimately nowadays as a career coach. So it's been a journey, and the program is something that I'm really proud of. So, if you are part of my online community, I'm sure that you have heard me talk about the corporate survivor a lot, and that's because it came out from a lot of reflection and a lot of thought process had gone into it as to how can I combine my corporate world insights, experiences, climbing up the career ladder, being confident from an introvert, being competent while starting out like super blur, and ultimately learning how to increase my income and increase my value. And also including all the conversations I've had with my one-on-one clients over the years and how to really add better value in the course itself versus doing hundreds and hundreds of one-on-one sessions. So all in all, this was really the event or catalyst that, helped me transition to a career coach, which I'm really, really happy about right now. And I say that, there can be good things that come out from sad events. I no longer want to, tell myself that it is the end of the road because it never is the end of the road. And like I said, grief takes time to heal personally, to heal with your family, and it's okay to make a decision that is right for you. So there are no best decisions, there are only decisions that are right for you. And I hope that my story inspires you, and even if you ended up like me and in an accidental career change, just know that you can always make the best out of any situation that are handed to you, and you do not have to get beaten by any circumstances. At the end of the day, if you are valuable, you are hardworking, you are ambitious, you know that you have something to offer, then you will always be in demand. So that's just something to remind you of, and I hope that this story inspires you. And if you have learned something from today's story time, personal story time sharing, then drop me a message on LinkedIn and Instagram and let me know. So thank you so much for being a loyal listener, a loyal watcher, and a loyal subscriber of the podcast. And if you like more free career resources in terms of newsletter, training webinars, masterclass, or interested in my paid program, The Corporate Survivor, you can find all the links in the description box below. Till then, I'll see you next time, and all the best in the new year. Cheers!